I'm here with artist Kate Richbourg, and we've been talking all about how art can really inspire your work, and you have a favorite piece.
I do. This is one of my favorite pieces. It's called The Bridge by Joseph Stella. And he used the Brooklyn Bridge, and bridges in New York City, as his inspiration. And I've always loved that kind of imagery. So this piece really, really spoke to me.
Well, it has a great color palette, and it also has a lot of different lines.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about this ladder type of bracelet, I can see where you drew inspiration from this.
Yeah, I really thought that kind of, like you said, the lines of the piece, the kind of movement of the piece really remind me of just doing a simple ladder stacking bracelet. And
I just think I would call this simple, sister.
Wow. Well, maybe it's a little more than simple, but you can't stop when you start.
Right, and these are some beautiful different colorways.
Thank you.
Obviously not from this piece of art, but from other works.
Yeah. When we do these, when I'm creating pieces like this, having an artwork to work from is really kind of inspiring and just kind of leads you along the path.
Very cool. So how do we get started?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do some fun, simple laddering. And I have a piece over here that is started. And the cool thing about doing a simple laddering bracelet is you can use any kind of, I don't know, it's not really a loom, it's kind of a surface to work on, really. So you can see this is one that I've been working on, and you can see how it's really been inspired by the lines and the colors of my painting over there. And what I've done to start is, as I begin, I've used just some macrame, simple macrame stitch to keep my button on, and then I just start to do the laddering portion.
Okay, so why don't you show us on this one?
Okay.
What it looks like at the beginning.
Because you can, not only can you do the macrame portion, but you can also start it by just tying a simple knot. And either with the macrame or this knotting technique, you can see how the thread is just knotted right in there.
Okay.
And I'm just using a double strand.
Double strand of leather and double strand of thread. Exactly. Does it matter what diameter you use?
No, it doesn't. This is a 1 millimeter leather, but I go as small as 0.5 millimeter all the way up to 2 millimeter.
Great.
Just depends on the look that you like.
Okay.
So with the board, as you're working, I just kind of clip this to the board like this and just wrap it around, and then as you continue to work on the piece, your wraps get more and more. And see how I've used that little rubber band there? And then, Katie, you can just clip it right there. Look at that.
Oh, I hope I can get it.
I bet you can.
All right.
There we go. Look at that. Or you can also, this is a good trick as well, sometimes I clip and I just put it on there like that.
Okay, so how long is this piece of leather that you're working with here?
Well, this is about a 4-yard piece, so when I fold it in half, it's one long yard, and then I fold it in half. So this will give me, I don't know, maybe even up to 7 or 8 wraps.
Oh, great.
So you can just keep going until you're done.
Okay, cool. I'll move this out of your way.
Okay. And so here are some of the segments that I have broken out because as you can see, as you start to work, and I've used a lot of different types of stitches in this piece. Whoops, and I've got my little bead palette out here, again, that I took from my artwork. But I've got just some simple laddering right here, and you can see they're connected kind of like I've done on that big board, just the short way around. So if you don't want to commit to a long piece like that, you can just do individual bracelets as well.
That's a great idea.
And you can see I've started with that macrame here, and then I've just used some size 11-aught seed beads along with some bugle beads. And the one thing that I did want to mention, see how I taper from smaller to larger beads? That way it gives it kind of a nice shape, and you get a little bit of air in there so everything sits really nicely as you start to ladder.
Nice. I love the colors.
Then you can also not only macrame at the top, but you can use macrame in the body of your piece as well.
Macrame is my favorite.
I'm telling you, you are good at the macrame. I kind of stumble through it, but I'll show you a little bit.
Sure.
What's kind of fun about this is I love the macrame that's beaded on both sides. So I've just used some regular beading thread here and an 11-aught seed bead. And now that I'm towards the end, you can see I still have a couple of beads left. What I do is I string on all my beads on both sides.
Oh, okay.
here, and I just tie a tiny little knot there at the end, so it keeps my beads from falling off. And then you just pop a bead up like that, and do your simple macrame stitch. Your loop under, up through, and your bead is right there. And you can do back and forth like so, or if you wanted to do 2 beads, I'm gonna make one more stitch here. If you wanted to do 2 beads side by side, you just bring up a bead here and a bead here and do that macrame all at once. So it's kind of a fun way to add some textile work to your piece.
Yeah, it gives it a great look.
Yeah, and I think it blends really nicely. I like thread. And you just macrame until that length is
That looks good.
where you want it to be.
Okay.
So now we have some 2-hole beads, some Tyla beads.
Love.
Love, love a 2-hole bead. And when you're laddering with a 2-hole, you don't want to forget to ladder through both of the holes, right?
That makes sense.
Well, sometimes I forget, and then I have
Right,
to go
you're
back and
speeding
fix it,
along.
right? Because
Yeah.
I just want to keep on beading. So with this Tyla, you can see I've also kind of tapered up with some 11/0, and they're in my palette. I think it looks really nice to add that little bit of metal, and then I just keep going along. So I'm just going to come in here, put on my Tyla bead, and I'm going to come underneath my open piece of leather as I'm going on. And then you're just going to come back through that bead. I've gone under the leather, back through that hole.
Okay, so back through the same hole.
Then, I don't want to block it so you can't see it, but then what I'm going to do, this is something I want to show you, Katie.
Let's see.
You really need to be careful. And I'm just going to back this out because I think this is real important for you guys to see. When you're laddering with these Tylas rather, it's easy not to catch the leather on this side.
Oh.
And I did not. So see how I'm going to come up and over. There we go. And see how
And then
that's now
through.
locked in?
I see it.
Now I go under the leather. You get so excited, or at least I do, doing these little beads that I just want to get the bead on.
Well, it looks great, and it feels neat, too.
Yeah.
I've been wearing them.
Oh, yeah, I love it. See, and there we go. Then again, I'll go under that leather to catch it. I'm actually gonna go this way. Catch my leather so that my bead is securely connected, and then I go back through that second hole.
Very good.
All the way through. And this needle, I'm using a size 10 beading needle. This beading needle really makes it easy to just have it fly through those. So see that? 2 holes catching the leather on both sides, and it's nice and secure, and you're ready to go on to your next one.
Okay.
Now, chain, Katie. I love laddering with chain. And you can see here, again, I've used that little macrame stitch up there, but you could use that knot just like I did up here. Either or, doesn't make any difference. But you just start by laying in that chain and pretend that chain is like a 2-hole bead. So
it looks great. I love the way it looks when you're done.
Yeah, and it adds a little bit of metal.
Do you have to be careful about what type of chain you're using?
Well,
I'm sure it works better with some than others.
yeah, but I think you could ladder with just about any chain that has a definite length that goes one way and then the other, so you have a place to put your needle through. And also, if it's large enough, to get the needle through there, you don't want something too tight. So just like it's a 2-hole bead, I've come out here. Now I'm around my leather. I'm going to go around. And this is kind of a little wheat style of chain. So see where there's a little V there that the chain makes? It's where the 2 lengths intersect. So I want to grab both of those lengths together. So I'm going to come through. That's where I pass my needle. But whatever chain that you're using, you'll really see where that intersection is. And you can kind of practice to see how it looks. But there you go. And I'm going to come under my leather this way. There we go. And that just like with the bead, I get around the leather there to kind of anchor my thread, and then I'm going to go back through
So it really
this
locks it
next
down.
one. So it locks it down, exactly. And that is all there is to laddering with the chain.
That is
Just treat
so
it,
fun, and what a
yeah.
great way to practice some different techniques.
And you can just treat it like it's some little 2-hole beads, you know?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at this
Okay.
beautiful creation here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was a really fun,
This is a long one.
yeah. So, you know, one of the things about working with these laddered projects is you just want to start at the beginning. And the cool thing about using, I think, like a piece of art or a drawing or a piece of art that you've made is that you can kind of look at each kind of bead that you've chosen, kind of match it to the picture. And then as the artwork inspires you, just continue.
Just change,
Yeah,
huh?
and just change.
Look at that chain, that looks
right?
great.
Doesn't that look nice? And usually this length is about a wrist wrap. So
Yeah, so
whatever
here I'll-
wraps around your wrist, you can see it's about a wrist wrap or so.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so easy to wear. I love it.
Yeah, and as you wind it and ladder, you've got your own artwork right on your wrist.
Thank you so much, Kate.
You're welcome.